Hello, beautiful listeners. How is everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode here on Her Divine Vibe podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and I'm not alone today. I have someone very special, and I know this episode is going to be so empowering. So I would love to introduce you to our guest. Her presence is as healing as her work is, and she is a holistic therapist. She is a wellness coach and she's certified in EFT tapping. She also has an e-course to help women and guide them into getting out of their people pleasing tendencies. We are no longer in that era. So I introduce you to Alana.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I feel like this combo is going to be so juicy and I'm excited.
I am so excited too. So we love astrology over here, and just to kind of get a little icebreaker, what is your zodiac sign, and what is something about your sign that you feel like is true to you?
Do you want sun or big three?
Let's keep it sweet and sun, just sun sign.
So I'm a Leo, and in the most true to form Leo fashion, I'm the first day of Leo because all eyes have to be on me. And I feel like this actually fits into what we're going to be talking about today because we know that Leos have some not so like desirable tendencies. Like people say that they're conceited or attention seeking, but really like a healed, balanced Leo is someone that takes a lot of pride, who's really loyal and who takes care of their tribe, right? So you can be really loyal and proud and take care of your pride, which is what they call a group of lions, without being egotistical, without having to go out of your way to bend over backwards and be a people pleaser and really like shine in your light. We know Leo is ruled by the sun, and I feel like being able to shine that light as like a beacon of hope and just positivity for others is really what I aim to do. So I feel like Leo being my sun sign is perfect.
And someone who, like, I know we met through social media first. I feel like your aura through social media just shined through that. Given like whatever, maybe, I don't know, the time that I met you, maybe you were still working through the people pleasing part of yourself, but I feel like you always just had this aura of shining. And even if you don't notice it, it's very much felt, I can say.
A lot of that comes with age as well. I know we met right around when you were turning 30, and I'm sure that you've experienced this already. And having just turned 34, I feel like I have a good bit of experience in
Yeah.
your 30s of like, I don't give a fuck anymore about what people
Mm,
think, doing what
feel
works
that.
for me, and I'm stepping into my purpose. Like, negative opinions be damned.
Yes. So that brings me to the very first question, which is what do you define as someone who is a people pleaser? What are the signs? What does it mean to you to be an overgiver? Do you think that's the same thing as overgiving and pleasing?
Yeah. So I think this is a great question just to kind of like get some terms clarified. To me, being a people pleaser is yes, overgiving, overperforming, being a perfectionist, really feeling like you rely on external validation, external approval, which as humans, we all want and need. And I think that's totally
Yes.
normal. We're all hardwired for social connection. So at a certain level, external validation, external approval is a normal thing to want and need.
Yeah.
A sense of belonging is a normal thing to want and need, but it becomes an issue when you're starting to be self-sacrificing
Hmm.
and being like over giving in the sense where you're not getting it back, you're pouring from an empty cup, you're so worried about what people are going to think and say and
Hmm.
feel about you that you're like doing these mental gymnastics trying to make sure you don't offend anyone.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll get, deeper into this, but at the surface level, it seems like, well, what is the issue of wanting to be liked? What is the issue of being a giver? And again,
Hmm.
it's not an issue when it's at the right amount and the right times,
Yeah.
but caring more about what someone else thinks about you than what you think of yourself is a problem.
Yeah.
Giving more than you're giving to yourself is a problem. And if we really think about it, it's impossible to please everyone, right? Because let's say you're making a dinner, right? And let's say that guest number one really hates chicken. So you decide to make beef. But now the other person coming hates beef. So what do
Mm-hmm.
you do? You make fish instead. And then the third person is allergic to fish.
Yeah.
It's a silly example because food preferences are not the same as like everything else. But the point being is that if you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, including yourself.
Yeah. And then I feel like you carry that with you as a people pleaser. You're just like, oh my God, I could have done better. Like I did everything wrong. Now everyone is mad at me. I remember I used to feel like that a lot. Everybody hates me. Everybody's mad at me. I couldn't show up for them. When really it wasn't that deep. And the people that I feel like make you feel really bad about not showing up for them, that's a whole other thing. But um I know for myself, I feel like I didn't really accept that I was a people pleaser until maybe like my mid 20s. So when did you realize, okay, Alana, like this is what's happening and it needs to stop?
So I think, as with anything you learn in your healing journey and your growth and therapy, and just to kind of, yeah, you said I'm a therapist, so obviously, that is a given. Actually, it's not a given. Unfortunately, there are therapists that are not doing the work, but I am not one of those people. I have gone to therapy. I've been doing the work. So this is something that has been like a lifelong journey. So I wouldn't say there's any one particular moment where like all of a sudden I realize I'm a people pleaser, but there's
Yeah.
certain like themes that I felt like kept coming up in my life, such as with friends. I had several close friends over like a few year period when I was living in DC before I moved here, where they literally told me I can't be the friend that you need. And I continued to give and give and give and give and get
Mm,
nothing back. And they
yeah.
were literally telling me, not just
Yeah.
showing, but telling me I can't do that for you. And I
Yeah.
said, it's fine. I'll just keep bending over backwards to be this like perfect friend. And there was so much resentment, so much disappointment, so much frustration. It
Mm,
made me feel so unloved, so unwanted, so undeserving. And that was something I had to really come to terms with, that this was something I was doing, right? I was not only accepting less than what I deserve, but I was continuing to give when I knew I wasn't getting that back. And it wasn't even like a 60-40 type situation. It was like a
yeah.
90 at best.
That's
So
extreme.
yeah. But I think part of it too, and which we'll get more into, is like where it's rooted in and like how you become a people pleaser. I think being able to tie that back and connect it to a lot of my childhood experiences really allowed me to see more clearly, like, I think this is something I've been learning my whole life, and
Yeah.
obviously I understand it better now. But within that, like, there's a lot of love and grace that I've given to myself because I just learned from my experiences, from my conditioning, and I did the best I could with what I knew at the time.
Yeah. So do you feel like you experienced it more with your friendships? Was it also like in your work and as like in your family dynamic as well? Do you just feel like in all aspects of your life you showed up as that people pleaser, or do you feel like it was more in your friendships?
I think it was definitely most in my friendships. I've definitely always been a girl's girl, and like genuinely a girl's girl, not just like a lip
Yeah.
service fake girl's girl. So I think I
Yeah.
I tend to give 110% to my girlfriends. And although I've had several like serious romantic relationships, I've spent a good deal of my adult life single. And so I'm someone that's very comfortable giving more of my energy to female friendships than like seeking a partner or dating or that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that my issues with dating are probably separate. Maybe there are some elements of that, but I
Yeah.
don't see it not as much. I would say where I notice it a lot too is like with my family, because the dynamic with my family is really how this developed. And
Hmm.
that created a much like stickier web for me to get out of than with people that I've only known a couple years that I could
Yeah.
easily walk away from, or in some situations have a conversation with and kind of change the narrative. But with family, it's like you really test how healed you are when you interact
Yes.
with them.
I believe that because I feel like with family, I mean, they've known you your whole life. or if you, yeah, and they're used to you being a certain way. So then when you start changing and healing, it's like, let's say, sometimes when you move out of a city and then you go and visit your parents for the holidays, and then it's like, who does she think she is? And it's like little comments that are funny, but they're really not. Like they really do think like you think you're better because you are doing some inner work and you're healing. And then it like sets you back because then it's like triggering sometimes. And people just expect you to be the same way your entire life. So what did it feel like for you when you started saying no? When you started showing up for yourself more and just having those boundaries, and what were the challenges for you of like fully committing to I'm not going to continue this like overgiving of my energy and it's time to say no.
Yeah, well, I think you make a really good point is that your family are not going to see the changes. And a lot of the time, they're not going to be happy for you because they, like a lot of people, benefit from you being a people pleaser. And so,
Hmm.
in you healing and creating boundaries, that's not a positive to them.
Yeah.
A lot of times, our family or any other people that we have in our lives that are insecure or codependent, have attachment issues, really anything that they need to heal from,
Hmm.
they're going to project it on you and try to continue having access to energy, resources, time, money, whatever that you were previously giving them, even when you decide, I no longer will give that. So, a huge sign that you're healing from being a people pleaser is that people are pissed off at you. People
Hmm.
stop talking to you. You start feeling guilty, even though you know deep down in your gut and your intuition that you're making the right decision by creating a boundary. You're going to be vilified. People
Yeah.
are going to see that you're a bitch, that you're the one with problems, that you need to go to therapy, you need help. They're
Yeah.
going to project so much of their own inner like wounds onto you that you're going to question whether anything you're doing is right. And it
Mm.
is like I always think of it as like those kind of like Disney or like Marvel movies where there's some sort of like evil villain and then maybe like they get stabbed in the heart or like acids poured on them and they like
Ugh.
start to scream and then they're shriveling away before
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is what it's like when you're healing a wound, when you're doing shadow work. It's
Yeah.
not going to just go away and close the door quietly. It's going to be a screaming, oozing, melting villain in your life.
Yeah.
But once that dies, whether that means a relationship's cut off, they heal, or you just heal enough that it doesn't affect you and trigger you anymore, that is where you find peace. So I think a lot of people expect that the peace is going to come up front. It doesn't. It's going to be hard fought and hard won. So
Yeah.
the journey is not going to be pretty or easy or soft, but it's worth it to get to the on the other side.
Yeah. And just knowing you, like, I cannot imagine you being like, you give, but I cannot imagine you like not having boundaries because I admire just like how you hold yourself to such a high like I know who I am and I know my worth and I know my value and I like there's a lot of respect and just feel like you carry yourself in that way, so like I cannot imagine Alana just like
No.
overgiving and leaking all her divine energy and just like, so you could tell, and I can imagine it wasn't easy to get to where you are now. And the whole villain thing for me, it was really hard because my problem was I didn't want anyone to hate me. And I was like, how can I still have boundaries but still please them? And I was just like, it was just an inner battle that like and no one expected this of me. I feel like I just put that pressure on myself. I don't know if you felt like that. Like maybe you created this in your own head and no one really was expecting that. And I also feel like I don't know what the statistics are of like one in every 10 people are a people pleaser, but I just feel like you were brought into your family dynamic for a reason, and you are that one family member, that one daughter that is just the empath, the overgiver. And so like there's this burden of like I don't want to be the villain, but maybe I am in their story. Like I just feel like we have sometimes it's like a higher calling because when we heal, it triggers our family and then they also are doing some healing work. So this like people pleasing curse, I feel like it's not given to everyone. It's given to the ones that really have a big heart. Like we really have a lot of love to give.
Yeah. Well, I think as hard as it's been in practice, like in the 3D to experience being that person, I
Yeah.
definitely think you're right. Like playing that black sheep role, being an eldest daughter. I don't think every people pleaser is an eldest daughter, but I think every eldest daughter is a people pleaser. It's not for the weak at all. And I think also kind of going back to like why are there people pleasers, what is it like when you're getting out of it? There's a sense when you're doing the people pleasing behavior that like people are finally going to see your worth.
Yeah.
People are really going to appreciate you and recognize everything that you've done for them, and it will all be worth it, right? But how many of us have gone above and beyond, working till 10 p.m. every day and then got fired all of a sudden with no warning? How many people have gone above and beyond in relationships and then they get dumped suddenly, with friends as well? How many people have gone above and beyond for their family and then they get blamed for shit?
Yeah.
Writing at myself right now, for those of you who can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just gets to the point where you realize, like, this is not it. Even if I felt like that would be worth it for doing what I'm doing as a people pleaser, it's just not even working out that way, anyways. So at a certain point, you're going to get to the stage where you're like, what am I even doing? None of the goals I even had for why I'm people pleasing, whether you're conscious of it or not, are even happening. So why am I putting myself last and still getting put last by everyone else? And I
Yeah.
think with anything like in life and therapy, like you're not going to change until the benefit of changing outweighs the benefit of staying the same, until the
Yeah.
fear of staying the same outweighs the fear of changing. And so it's the same with people pleasing. You're going to have to get so sick of things being the way they are and being the type of person that is draining yourself and getting nothing back before something changes.
Yeah. So do you feel like this is the same as being a good woman, a likable person? It's because we want to play it safe, or not we, because we're stepped out of this. But anyone that's going through like, am I a people pleaser? Like, what would be some signs of it? Like, how would someone know? How do you make the difference between like, I'm just a really kind-hearted person versus this is this is me just like now giving too much access to my energy and not getting in return. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just the women that want to be likable and play it safe?
So I think there's like a couple things at play here. I think on the surface, again, everyone wants to be liked to some degree,
Yeah.
but I think we all are aware that as a society, both being like, in the States and also on a global level, women are conditioned to be people pleasers, to be likable, to be soft and demure and not rock the boat, not speak up. So there's
Hmm.
a lot of conditioning that goes into being a woman and being a people pleaser. And most of us don't even realize because it's so implicit. And of course, like any woman that's that loud and outspoken about it is going to get vilified.
Hmm.
All the women that we see that are, making change and being bold and standing up, they get a lot of hate, but they're not going to make any difference worrying about people liking them.
Yeah.
So anyone listening, I'm sure, can think of like 10 different examples of that. So I think at base level, any woman is likely already a people pleaser or has some people pleasing tendencies. And then, kind of going back to what I was saying about childhood stuff, I don't want to give everything away that's in the e course, but imagine someone who maybe has parents that scream a lot or are very emotional, lash out. Any child is going to want to avoid further angering their parents. So what
Yeah.
they are doing is trying to be very quiet, trying to not rock the boat, trying to make sure they don't ruffle any feathers, and this ends up getting stuck in your nervous system. So this is like a cellular level deep trauma response. Like, let's call it what it is. It's a trauma response. And even if that trauma is just being a woman, like, let's be real, there are a lot of things that we're feeling and are held in our body at that
Yeah.
soul deep, cell deep, nervous system level deep level.
Yeah.
Not just about saying things differently, showing up on the surface level, like how you look differently. It is really deep. And so, again, it can be very subtle, but I think, yeah, most people, most women have some level of people pleasing tendencies. And it's just about becoming aware of it first before you even change anything.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like, yeah, it's all about balance. You want to have boundaries, but you also don't want to be so closed off that you don't allow connections in your life. And you also don't want to be so open that you just let anybody and everything just kind of take advantage of you. For me, it showed up not so much, yes, in my friendships, but more in my romantic relationships for sure. But that whole like feeling the trauma response, I think for me, like my mom was a really strict mom. So I was always afraid of getting her so upset. And I think that carried on through just even my mid 20s. And I'm like, no. I think the hardest part is putting those boundaries with your parents too. Like we were talking about, our family it could be the hardest part to heal. And yeah, sometimes it's the people that's closest to you. It's not strangers,
Mhm.
it's your coworkers too. I think work doesn't get talked enough about, but like sometimes your job does take advantage of you, and people, because it's like they have the power of your income, it's harder for people to walk away. But I think it's really important to have boundaries at your work as well, with your coworkers, with your boss, with that. I think when we feel like people have power over us, we shrink ourselves and we feel like, oh, we can't really stand up for ourselves. We can't really say anything. But I think there has to be boundaries, no matter who the person is, you know?
Um, Absolutely. I think that once you get deeper in your healing journey, you see that not only do these lessons apply to everything, but the universe will bring you more opportunities to put these lessons into practice in any situation. And to answer the other part of your question about, like, I think you said, like, what is something about, like, is it a good girl, or like, what is
Yeah,
being
like
kind?
yeah, does it stem from wanting to be a good girl, like likable? This is why we overgive. This is why we make everybody comfortable and happy over our own needs.
Yeah. So I think a really good way to illustrate this is, like, a lot of people say that and this is a stereotype, but generally people in LA are nice but not kind, meaning like they're nice to your face, they're sweet, whatever, but like they're actually fake, they're not looking out for your best interests, they're backstabbing. Whereas people in New York are not nice, but they are kind,
Yeah.
meaning that they're really rough. They can kind of like rub you the wrong way. They use like strong language, but they will carry your groceries up a 5 floor walk up. And I think that's a good illustration that being nice, quote unquote, being likable, are not even necessarily the goal if you want to be a kind person, if you have a good
Yes.
heart. That isn't the
Yes.
goal. Someone that is kind is someone that can be clear with you, setting boundaries that are clear and kind. And that is actually nicer than just trying to please people. Because let's
Yeah.
think of a scenario where a boundary actually helps a relationship. Let's say that your neighbor keeps coming over and dropping their kids off after work every day because you one time allowed them to.
Yeah.
And now it's getting to the point where you're so drained, you're so pissed off and resentful that not only do you feel resentful towards your neighbor, but you're like snapping at their children. You're being negligent of them. And they're honestly like not even in good hands now because you're
Yeah.
just so angry about the situation that you're not even taking care of them. That is not nice or kind, right?
Mm-mm.
Versus you having a clear, direct conversation with that neighbor saying, hey, I know that I, helped you out that one time, and I definitely can, like, here and there, but I'm not able to help you every single day. You're going to have to find someone else. Maybe that person will receive it horribly, depending on who they are, maybe not. But what the potential there is that you've now set a clear boundary that was kind because it was clear and direct, but not mean, right? You're not being
Yeah.
mean. And
Yeah.
now potentially this person finds other help and you can resume having that healthy relationship. Something
Yes.
people forget is that boundaries are created to help a relationship.
Yeah.
If you didn't care about the relationship, you would just be like cut off, blocked, done. A
Yeah.
boundary is meant to help the health of a relationship. So
Oh,
that is the
so
kindest
quick.
thing you can do. And it's not only kind to that person, but kind to yourself because
Yes.
now you have peace afterward.
And that's a key thing because I was thinking that right now is that when you're constantly saying yes, 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 I'll be there, I'll do that, you're spreading yourself thin, you end up creating a lot of resentment towards the person, towards everybody but yourself. And then you realize it's really on me. Like I can't be mad at everyone because I'm putting that pressure on myself and I'm the one that's saying yes. So like, but there is that built up resentment and it just and the it sounds so simple. Like you just need to have that conversation and just be honest. But I think a lot of people are afraid to express their true feelings because it comes off as mean. So, what were some tools for you to just like step into this power of like, what I want is not mean, like me communicating, I don't have to do it in a mean way. It's okay to say no. It doesn't make me a bad person. And my boundaries are not like blocking things. They're just invitations to, love me a little more. So, what were some tools for you to be able to like express your needs?
So I think I've always been a really clear communicator, and I feel like a lot of relationships that I've tried to set boundaries in the past were with people that A, were not good communicators, and B, were just not emotionally mature. So even though I was communicating very clearly, very kindly, very empathetically, I was not getting a positive response. And it reinforced this idea for me that it's not safe to create boundaries.
Mm,
And a lot of people have experienced that too. That they maybe tried to assert themselves one time and it went horribly. And
yeah.
so they said, not safe, never again. And I
Hmm.
just want to kind of reassure people that if they feel that way, it's likely been a survival mechanism of their nervous system. So it's not that anyone has anything wrong with them for feeling that way.
Yeah.
Um, However, I have read a lot of really great books in my time as a therapist before as well, but like in the context of being a therapist, it's been helpful to not only apply it to my life, but be able to help clients apply it to theirs, which then kind of feeds back in this loop of like me knowing how it applies to other people. One book that I read, which was so incredibly helpful, was
Yeah.
called The Book of Boundaries, I think.
Oh,
The Urban, and it was the creator of Whole 30. And I didn't know this, but the creator of Whole 30 used to be like a drug addict. And she found that as she was like getting sober, wanting to eat more healthy, that she was having to create so many boundaries with people in her life.
mm,
And she saw
mhm.
how many things came up for those other people, like so many wounds that got triggered in them that they projected onto her, that she came up with like this whole kind of concept around how to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And I can go into this much deeper in another episode or in a one-on-one session or whatever.
Yeah.
But basically, she has this framework that's like green, yellow, red, like a stoplight. And I think it's really helpful because a lot of people see boundaries as black and white, either no
Mm,
boundaries at all or a super harsh one. But this framework basically starts off as like the first conversation you have with someone, whether it's your family that's done this a million times or someone you barely know and it's the first time ever, you're going to go into it as kind, as generous, as benefit of the doubt giving as possible, and
yeah.
just let them know that their actions, their words have bothered you. And that's it. You just say it and then you leave it. And you put the ball in their court to change their behavior. You're not saying, I need you to do this. You have to do this. You're not threatening them. You're just saying, hey, this bothered me.
Yeah.
If it happens again, and likely if it's been a repeat offender already, it's going to happen again. Next would be the yellow boundary, where you reiterate it saying, hey, remember that conversation we had about X behavior that bothered me? I'm still, bothered, upset, frustrated by it. And if it continues, I'm going to have to do XYZ.
Mm,
Obviously, this can come off as a threat depending how you phrase it and the energy
yeah.
around it. But
Yeah.
you want them to know, like, I'm not with the bullshit. And if you can, I'm not going to force you to stop, but if it continues, there
Yeah.
will be XYZ consequence. And this
Yeah.
kind of goes back to like that let them theory that was like viral recently. You can let them do whatever they want, but
Yeah.
then if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
The red boundary would be like either the third time, or if you keep letting it slide and finally are ready to implement the consequence, you
Yeah.
don't even warn them, you just do it. So
Yeah.
whether that's blocking them, cutting off money, not seeing them anymore, whatever that means,
Yeah.
go straight to that. And I think a lot of people feel like that has to be the first boundary they set, and that it's too harsh, to like they're blowing it out of proportion.
Yeah.
Or what happens a lot of the times is that people get stuck in the yellow. So even though the person keeps repeat offending, they're like, oh, if you do this, I'm going to do that. If you keep doing this, I'm going to do that. But then you never do it. So they're like, well, I don't take you seriously. I'm not going to stop.
Yes.
Just kind
That's
of let it do it.
Oh my God. Yeah, because some people like they really, yeah, they're not gonna believe it unless you actually take action. I feel like with my friendships, I never really had to do anything crazy like that. I think I remember there was one, because yeah, I feel like in my friendship, I've always been like a very cool, calm, collected, very easygoing. But there was one friend that she was like she was going through it at that time and she was just kind of very like a Debbie Downer and I'm over here like optimistic trying to bring some light into her day and like I gave her grace because I knew she was going through it, but then she started making little remarks and comments that just made me feel bad, like okay, I won't be happy around you, I guess. But then I kind of told her how I felt. Nothing really changed. And then one time she said something really, really mean. And I had communicated to her, like, I don't know if I did the green, yellow, red correctly, but I mean, I did kind of give her like a warning, like, I don't really like how you're speaking to me. And then when she did cross a line, I just was like, I can't do this friendship anymore. So there wasn't, I guess the consequence was like losing me as a friend. And it's not like I hated her or anything. I just feel like, yeah, I think how many times are you gonna give someone a chance to like stop? You know, I think it's important to express yourself and maybe okay, one or two times they don't listen, but you really have to implement that red light. That part is really important. Otherwise, nothing is gonna change. And like you said, people are not going to take you serious. And I think that's what happens with a lot of women that they just, and it's not even wanting to be likable. They just want to feel like they belong somewhere. So they fear rejection, they fear missing out, and so even though they want to take action, they'll hesitate. They'll be like, "No, it's okay. I'll give them one more try. I'll give them one more try." But this is why implementing that red light part is so, so important.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, like, this is not something I relate to because I got the fuck out of Dodge after high school and went somewhere else for college. And I've moved around a lot as an adult. So I've kind of had the opportunity to reinvent myself and like start my life over multiple times.
Yeah.
And yes, there are certain people I've kept in my life from each chapter, people that really, are on the same page as me. But there's been a lot of people in each chapter that I become friends with and, either cut ties with or just kind of fell out of touch with. So I think for me, like, I don't have this kind of sunken cost fallacy that a lot of people have, but something
Yeah.
I feel so many of my clients, so many people I know experience is that they have friends from high school, middle school, elementary school, and they're like, well, I can't cut them off.
Yeah.
So
There's a huge
I'm gonna have
attachment
to deal
there.
with it. Yeah, and it keeps you playing it really small because you feel like you have to keep being the version that they've always known.
Yeah.
And maybe those people are insecure or they're not bold enough to go for their dream life. So like
Yeah.
something I see a lot on social media is people who are like, "Oh, I want to be an influencer, but everyone's going to laugh at me and think I'm, being
Yeah.
stupid." And obviously, I've been creating content for a while. I was a blogger before influencer even exists. I don't give a fuck what people think about what I post.
That's
I
why
like
I love you.
is like one of the most triggering things that you can do in stepping into like a new version of yourself because it's all about the visibility of it. There's
Hmm.
no way for you to do this in the dark, in the shadows, right? I mean, you can block all those people, But there's just so many situations in which I think people play their lives small and
Yeah.
keep themselves shrunken and are really like betraying themselves and what their higher self, highest calling has in store for them because they don't want to be the person that is weird or cringe or other people are jealous of or hate or that they don't relate to them. And so instead of rocking the boat with those friendships that don't even resonate with them anymore, they just don't do it. They don't go after their dreams. And I think that's a really important part of this conversation is like, it's not just about like being liked, not being liked, giving, not giving as much. It's like this could really change the whole trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that you want to go after, or maybe you don't even know what your dream life looks like, you're not going to get there if you're people pleasing because
Yeah.
people pleasing keeps you small and it
Mm.
will also make you depressed. It will make you anxious. You will be getting panic attacks, maybe. It can manifest as ADHD. Like there's so many different quote unquote like mental health issues that come up just from that behavior on its own. And obviously,
Yes.
it's a set of like many behaviors and mindsets. But I just want to drive home like, if you're listening to this and you feel like, oh, wow, I feel red, I am a people pleaser. I don't want you to, leave this episode feeling like, oh, I'm fucked. You're not. Like, there's a way to heal from it. And all these things that maybe you see other people doing on social media, if that lights you up, but you feel like it's not for you, it is for you. You just have to start with changing these behaviors and self-limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck.
Oh, I felt all of that. That was really empowering. I think, yeah. Um, wow, where do we even begin with? Yeah, you're never stuck. And you are who you surround yourself with. So if you're continuing to choose to be, to play small because you don't want to make anyone else feel bad around you because like your dreams are so intimidating to other people or they don't support you. I've heard this before, like I do have supportive people in my life, but sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, that's so silly," or "That's such a cute idea." Like that's, downplaying the idea, downplaying the vision, but you have to love yourself so much that you're not going to surround yourself in places and people that don't support your big dreams and that want you to play small. Like you have to really choose you. And I think that's the hardest part because sometimes there's a moment where it gets a little lonely because you have to cleanse and you have to really see like who is, on the path of like growing with me, not necessarily doing the same things you want to do, but that are also choosing to grow as a person. Like those are the people you want to be around. Nobody's perfect. And, some people, and sometimes, yeah, it's like your closest friend, but you have to know, like, this is your life. We're not here forever. So we're here to live our biggest, wildest dreams. And like, what is holding us back? Is it really just, the fact that we don't want people to feel intimidated by us? That never does anyone any good. And the anxiety, the anxiousness, the fears, like I read tarot cards, and one of the most common cards that I pull is the Eight of Swords and the Nine of Swords, and that is all like logic, my mind, like, oh my God, overthinking, self-sabotaging, feeling trapped, and it's all a mind game. Your life is as beautiful as your mindset. So if you're choosing to play small, like that's what your life is going to be. So what now, like being where you are, um, what would you say is an empowered woman? What does it mean to be empowered? And how do you get there?
So I think part of that, which kind of is like an extension of what we were just talking about, is like, yes, it's easy to see all the like loss that can happen when you start standing up for yourself. You start being this empowered version, losing friends, losing jobs, losing whatever it is that you're doing that's keeping you stuck. And I think that's what really scares people and keeps them stuck in the people pleasing is that they just worry about like, what will my life be? Not only if I'm not liked, but if I lose these people altogether, if I
Yeah.
stand up at work and I lose my job. But there's so much in store for you when you create this space for it. In that void is where all those new people, new connections, aligned opportunities that are meant for you come rushing in. So being an empowered woman means that you have, like you said, enough love for yourself, enough faith in yourself, and honestly, faith in the universe, God, like
Mm,
whatever you believe in, some
yes.
other power that's higher than you outside of yourself. You have to have such a strong faith in that that putting yourself first is not selfish. It doesn't make you a bad person. That filling your cup up first is the only way that you can give to others. Setting boundaries is the only way that you can be kind to others. Clearing
Hmm.
the space of people, things, energy that's not serving you, your highest good, and the good of others is the only way for you to get to this level of being an empowered woman.
Yeah.
And where I'm at now, I just turned 34, like I said, so I'm, deep into my empowered 30 girl era. What it feels like to me right now, and also I just started my second month as a full-time entrepreneur.
Ah, congrats. Celebrating all the
Yeah,
wins.
it feels like ease, it feels like flow, it feels like surrender, it feels like this deep, intuitive, like soul nourishing trust that the right things, people, opportunities are going to come and go as needed. That
Yeah.
there's this sense of flow, that things are not linear, things are not concrete, nothing is permanent, and that anything lost is not really a loss. So
Yeah.
I think that it really becomes like a spiritual thing. To
Yes.
be fully empowered is to understand and appreciate and really just embody the sense of like there being some sort of power outside of your like physical body and physical 3D experience.
What would you say, when you were in the beginning of this journey, was one of your most empowering moments that you felt like you knew that you were changing and growing? Like, do you have like one specific moment that you remember? Just feeling, even it doesn't have to be something huge. It could just be something that you said no to, or the way that you showed up for yourself, that you were so proud because, maybe younger Alana would have never done that or would have never thought she could.
So the memory that's jumping out, and I don't know if I've told you, I think I did tell you the story, the Greece story with my ex-boyfriend.
Oh, yes.
In a nutshell, this is like the vacation from hell. Everything that could have gone, it was honestly like a movie. It was
Yeah.
insane. And this was like 3 years into a relationship with this person. We had been living together for a year and a half in LA. It was not like he was a horrible person. He wasn't abusive. It just felt so misaligned. And when
Mm.
we had moved from Boston to LA together, my intuition was screaming at me that this wasn't a good fit, not to move with him, to do it on my own. But I just felt like things were already in motion and that there were too many things that we had like figured out together for
Hmm.
me to like jump ship and figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
Now, like over 10 years later, I can see that it would not only have worked out, but have been better in so many ways if I just listened to my intuition. But
Yeah.
young Alana at the beginning of the quality journey just wasn't there yet. And we hold space and grace for her.
Yes, we love her.
Forward a year and a half later, we're in Greece together. It's my birthday trip. We are fighting. Like in
Mhm.
public, people are staring at us. And it's really embarrassing because I'm a Leo, but I don't want that type of attention.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
were never that type of couple either. And I just was so miserable. I felt really trapped. I was like, I don't know what to do. And then suddenly, like this spiritual download, I got this like vision and this idea that I'm going to, first of all, break up with him. Our lease was ending like the day we got back. So, not renewing our lease. I was going to move down to San Diego, take a year off school, and just live my best life. And that is
Uh,
exactly what I did. And moving to
yeah.
San Diego was literally the best thing I could have ever done to myself because not only was this like such a fun, carefree, just lighthearted chapter of my life that I cherish so much, but moving there with no friends, no job, I got a car right before, like after that trip, I
Yeah.
went and found an apartment, literally a blank slate. And after
Love
that,
that.
I'm not scared of anything because I just
Okay.
started my life over. And I
Yeah.
think if I'm thinking about where this like unlearning people pleasing journey started, that's probably the start of it. But like I said, there's been so many layers. I've gone through so many different challenges and chapters since then
Yeah.
that I feel like I keep uncovering new layers. But that was like, if there was a book or a movie of my life, that would be one of like the climax,
Oh
like
my
pivot.
goodness. And out of all places, Greece too. But you must be maybe, I don't know, Greece, I feel like there's a lot of divine energy there. And like you said, this is spiritual. You know, like this inner work, this healing, this is like, again, it's not just surface level. I want to be liked. I just want to make people happy. This is rooted in, you know, just the programming in your mind of like needing to perform for love sometimes, needing to show up in a certain way. Otherwise, people will not, want you in their space. But it is very spiritual because you have to listen to your intuition. And as women, I feel like a lot of us have disconnected from that. And sometimes we feel like we need to visually see the answers with our eyes instead of trusting that instinct. I call it like ancient wisdom, inner wisdom, that there are no words, there are no physical things to always make like what you're feeling tangible. So you have to, again, have so much love and trust in yourself that this is not you being crazy. This is not you like throwing your whole life away. Like if you have a gut feeling, if you have this like it keeps coming up. It's in your dreams, it's in conversations. It's like, everything is always like speaking to you. The universe, God is always speaking to you. So your intuition, you're not going to be able to, it's not tangible. It's just this inner feeling that you have to like, really acknowledge because it's there for a reason. And as women, I feel like we just get so disconnected to that because we're crazy. We're so emotional. Oh, we're just like, we're letting and yes, there is sometimes it's emotions versus intuition, but that's why doing the inner work and getting to know yourself and just like doing that deep healing will help you to understand like this is my intuition. This is not just me being crazy. Like this is something I need to do for myself. And we always ignore that. Like at some point in our path, we've like, oh, we knew better, but we just didn't. And, we all have been there.
And I think that like the intuition piece comes into play in so many different ways because, okay, so two ways. First of all, we know, or maybe if you're listening, you don't know all about the chakras, but in the chakra system, there are two places where your intuition is held. One being the third eye chakra, which obviously is in the upper chakras. So this is like your connection to the unseen, to the spirit world, to your higher self. And I think a lot of us think of intuition in that way, but it's also held in the sacral chakra. And that is not only, our seat of creativity and pleasure and power, but also in your gut, right? So when you say a gut feeling, we're literally talking about in your gut. So if you are very dysregulated, if your nervous system is really dysregulated, if you're restricting your own pleasure by pleasing others, you are going to cut yourself off from that intuition, which means that also this upper third eye chakra is going to be cut off from your higher self. So again, there's so many ways in which people pleasing behavior sabotages your ability to live this life that feels aligned. And I think sometimes, I talk about intuition. I'm sure you talk about intuition with people thinking that like it's obvious, like what does listening to your intuition even mean? But I think a lot of people are like, well, what does it even feel like? Because a lot of people mistake anxiety and anxious thoughts
Yes.
for intuition. And the way to know the difference is that if it's anxiety, it is going to feel frantic. It's going to feel urgent. It's going to feel uncertain. It's going to feel vague. It's going to feel confusing. You're going to be diving so deep into logic, pros and cons, asking ChatGPT, asking your friends, thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. And it's not going to be clear, right? That is not your intuition. That is your nervous system being dysregulated and coming through as anxiety. True intuition is going to feel like what I said. It's going to feel like a download. Like suddenly your body just received this information. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to feel like peace. It's going to feel like this deep inner knowing that you can't explain.
Yeah.
Maybe on paper it sounds crazy. You don't even feel like you can tell anyone because it's
Right.
so counterintuitive to everything else that you know. but somewhere deep down inside, you just know. And
Mm-hmm.
every single person at some point in their life has experienced that, but probably ignored it, was too
Yeah.
afraid to listen to it. And once you get more comfortable, it starts to come through more clearly. And that's how you start to know I'm unlearning the people pleasing because I'm getting more in touch with my intuition and allowing it to flow more freely.
That was a really beautiful way to explain it because I feel like that's the number one question is how do I know if it's my intuition? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? And that was a great, great way to explain the difference. So now we're kind of wrapping up. I feel like we talked about amazing, great things. I want to kind of get into your ebook, your e-course. So what inspired this and who is this e-course for?
So I obviously was inspired by my own experience, but I also realized that, like I said, pretty much every client of mine has some sort of people pleasing tendencies. And
Mhm.
I just saw that it was coming up over and over and over to the point where I was like, I know there's a lot of people that can benefit from this that maybe don't want to go to therapy, don't have the means for it, or would just feel more comfortable kind of doing it on their own at their own pace, being able to come back to it, having it written versus just, verbally told to them. So I felt like this was a really great course to create because I knew that there's so many people that can benefit from it. And I also feel like if you're listening to this and you feel like these things are resonating with you, but you never realized how much and how deep it was for you, this e-course is going to probably touch on a lot of things you had no idea were connected to people pleasing.
Mhm.
It's going to uncover so many layers that maybe you're not even ready to uncover, but you need to, and you need to get through. So, this is for anyone who even has an inkling of a suspicion that they're a people pleaser. If
Yes.
you're someone that has known for a while you're a people pleaser, but you just feel really stuck, either because everything you've tried isn't really clicking or helping you out of it, or you just feel like you kind of need to understand it better at the root. I'm someone that I feel like I really need to understand things deeply to do something about them, then this is for you. And again, if you're someone that likes to do things at your own pace, this is also definitely for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's really great that it's at your own pace. I feel like sometimes people feel intimidated maybe by like doing it live. But I think everyone can kind of feel and see your energy and how like I would love to learn from you and like this is gonna be so rich in knowledge. I can already tell. Um, so what is one affirmation or mantra that you would like to leave these ladies with?
I would say that because, like I said, all of this is happening at the nervous system level. And in order to heal from people pleasing, in order to go after your delusional dream life, it has to feel safe to your nervous system. So I would say an affirmation is it is safe to fill my own cup up first. It is safe to live a life that is in service of others while still honoring my own needs. And it is safe to tap into my intuition and pursue my dream life.
Oh my God. I love that because I feel like for me, yeah, not it didn't never felt safe. And I don't
Uh,
even think we realize we don't feel safe. We don't feel safe. Safety is not only just a physical thing, like, oh my God, we're in the jungle, like I don't feel safe. Safety is like being comfortable, being okay with taking up space, like not having to be tense in your body and just relaxing and showing up and opening your heart, not like covered and scared. I mean,
yeah.
everything is connected, what you think, what you feel, how you express it. So that was really beautiful.
Yeah, and I also want to add that a lot of this work, even though it's self-paced and obviously you can do it at the pace that's comfortable for you, a lot of this work may bring up more work that needs to be done. And so if there's anyone listening that is interested in the course, but maybe they don't think that's the right avenue for them, or, purchases a course and feels like they need more hands-on help, I am taking on a few one-on-one coaching clients. So if anyone's
Mhm.
interested, I'm sure Jessica will put my information in the
Yeah.
show notes. If anyone's interested, feel free to reach out.
But also, what is your Instagram? Where can everyone follow you?
So, Soul Space Holistic Wellness is my company name. I'm going to be opening a holistic center in Miami in the next year. So,
Ah,
look for that. My personal is Alana underscore Reina. So if you want kind of some of my like personal experience coming through from like less of a business owner lens, but more so like, hey, this is me in my real life and some of the things I experience, feel free to follow me there as well.
Follow her on TikTok too. Like Alana brings all the vibes. You just
Yeah.
like, it's so fun. I feel like we're like all your girlfriends just like living in Miami with you or just in Florida. Thank you for your time. Thank you for such an empowering conversation. I know that a lot of women are going to relate to this, and I am so excited for everyone to get their hands on your ebook, your e-course. This is going to be really great. I think there needs to be more discussions and just like more tools to help women to get through this. And it doesn't matter what age you are, where you are in your life, like there's there's no too late, too soon. It's just like right and divine alignment. So if you're listening to this, I know that maybe you know someone or you are that person that needed to hear this entire conversation and just know like you're able to get on the other side. You were a people pleaser. I was, and not that long. I feel like I'm still like a recovering one. I'm still doing a lot of that inner work, but I have come so far from where I was. And maybe it has to do with being in your 30s sometimes.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, you have us for some guidance. So thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. Bye, guys.